LEIGHTDICKEY.com.
Do you have an event or occasion coming up that could use a special touch? Perhaps a wedding, a production, a show? Good! Then you're in luck. Hayley Moores is who you're looking for. Hayley is a makeup artist in the Toronto, Ontario area, specializing in bridal, glam, natural, and special effects. She's incredibly talented, professional, easy to work with, and has a personality that is second to none. To book Hayley Moores today, follow her on Instagram at mad_milash, that's MAD_MILASH, or email her at madmilash, again, that's MADMILASH @gmail.com. Book Hayley Moores today, you'll be glad you did.
LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com.
Do you find yourself reminiscing on what life was like when you were younger? Do your favorite songs, movies, and TV shows instantly take you back to a simpler time? Great! Then you're in the right place. Join me, Leigh Dickey, on my new web series and podcast, Yo Nostalgia, where I cover everything you grew up with. From films and toys to fads and trends, Yo Nostalgia has it all. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever podcasts are available. Follow along on social media at Yo Nostalgia Show to keep up on this time-traveling trip. Yo Nostalgia, breathing new life into your memories, available everywhere now.
LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com.
Do you enjoy good conversation? Are you a person with many passions? Perfect. Then the Beats and Speaks podcast is for you. Join me, Leigh Dickey, every Friday for stories and interviews about everyday life with everyday people about everyday things. Everyone has a story, and I just want to help them tell it. The Beats and Speaks podcast, your everyday life, everyday stories, everyday people, comedy and entertainment audio joyride. Subscribe and download on LEIGHTDICKEY.com, Leigh Dickey TV on YouTube, and your favorite podcast app. The Beats and Speaks podcast, available everywhere now.
LEIGHTDICKEY.com. LEIGHTDICKEY.com.
What's going on, everybody? Leigh Dickey here. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. This week, today, I figured I'd tell you why and how I developed such a sweet tooth. I have a massive sweet tooth. Everything and anything that my dentist hates me for, but oh well, I have a massive sweet tooth, and I will tell you all about it and how and why, like what my favorite things to basically associate the sweet tooth with are, right here on a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. But before we get into the main event, before I tell you all about my sweet tooth and what I like to basically curb the taste for sweet with, I want to tell you where you can find the Beats and Speaks podcast. Of course, brand new episodes of the Beats and Speaks podcast are released every single Friday on my official website, LEIGHTDICKEY.com, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and wherever podcasts are available. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on YouTube as well under Leigh Dickey TV. Rate us 5 stars and leave reviews too if you would, please, and thank you. All right, now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, remember to always follow us on social media, also at Leigh T. Dickey, and send me emails, comments, questions to LeighTDickey@gmail.com. All right, truthfully, now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, let's get into the main event, get into why you are really here, and that is my sweet tooth and what I like to associate it with right here on a brand new episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Alright, so yes, my sweet tooth and what I like to associate it with, what I like to shove in my word hole, shove in my face hole, shove in my food hole, to basically make it feel good, make my sweet tooth feel good. I love anything sweet, ice cream, cake, cookies, chocolate especially, and we'll get into that here right now on the Beats and Speaks podcast. I love anything sweet, chocolate especially. My favorite kind of chocolate, or my favorite brand of chocolate, I think it's Nelson or Nielsen. the Jersey milk chocolate bars, oh, those are heavenly, okay? I mean, for the longest time, because this show is produced out of Toronto, Canada, where I happen to live and am from, for the longest time, I couldn't find them here, anywhere, at least in my local area. They weren't, convenience stores weren't carrying them, or at least the ones around me in my immediate area. I just couldn't find them, and I was like, oh, man, I miss those. I really do. Like, I found, say, an image of one while just perusing social media one night, and I'm like, man, I miss those. Because I hadn't had them in years, easily probably since at least high school for me, which was a while ago. And I was like, man, I haven't been able to find those in, however long it had been. So, I had a friend of mine that I still talk to. I'd known her most of my life, and she says, hey, I was up at the cookie factory, the Peak Friends cookie factory, and they sell them at like 50 cents a pop. I bought you a couple, I'll just come drop them off. And she bought me like, I don't know, 2, 3, right? And I was like, oh man, I haven't had these in ages. I cracked them open right away. I may or may not have eaten them within like 2 or 3 days. I can neither confirm nor deny. Okay, so that was one day she found those, and I was like, oh, great, And then I was talking to my neighbor the day after she came by, and then my next door neighbor and I were talking, and I'd mentioned it, whatever. We were just sitting in the backyard watching like episodes of Corner Gas, and he sends me a text like the next day or the day after that, and he goes, hey, you were the one mentioning Jersey milk, right? I go, yeah. He's like, oh, I was just up at the cookie factory, like the Peak Friends cookie factory, and I bought you some. I'll drop them off and hang them on your door so you can have them. I went, okay. So he does, and I open the bag, and there are like another 2 or 3 bars in there. So within, say, like a 3 or 4 day period, a good friend of mine and my next door neighbor had basically bought me 6 Jersey milk chocolate bars, and I was like, "Oi, these are heavenly, man. You crack a piece off, put it, dip it in a cup of coffee or like a hot chocolate, like, oi, that's heavenly. This is what heaven looks like and tastes like and feels like. It's just covered in Jersey milk chocolate. Like, oh my God, I'm in heaven with those. It's like the most beautiful thing my taste buds have ever had thus far, at least, when I'm trying to associate the sweet tooth. That's what I like to curb it with. Coffee, dip the Jersey milk chocolate in there, and then just pop it in your mouth, and I'm like, oh, this is, almost orgasmic, if you want to call it that. Just, it feels so good, tastes so good, you know what I mean? And, I'm not taking anything away from anything else, considering that I'm recording this on Canadian Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving Monday here, so not comparing my love of Jersey milk chocolate to like Thanksgiving dinner or anything, but like I love me a coffee or a hot chocolate or even a mocha, which is basically espresso and coffee and hot chocolate. So, with the Jersey milk, you dip that in there, pop that in your mouth. I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. It's such a pretty thing. It's so nice. It's beautiful, I tell you. But I'd probably had like 6 or 7, something like that, Jersey milk chocolate bars in my house within like a 3 or 4 day period, thanks to like a really good friend of mine and my next door neighbor. So thank you both. You guys are awesome. And thank you for basically covering my habit, if you will, for Jersey milk chocolate bars. I appreciate you both very, very much. And the funny thing is, I hadn't been able to find them like in local convenience stores anywhere around me, like in my immediate area. I went a couple blocks up from my house. There's a small convenience store. I walk in there and I'm looking for my second favorite chocolate or candy, whatever you want to call it, which is the Reese peanut butter cups. And we'll get into that in a second. I was looking for those. I was visually scanning the front of the store, and I found one Jersey milk chocolate bar, and I went, you know what? I can forego the Reese peanut butter cups for tonight for one Jersey milk chocolate bar, because that's coming home with me. And that's exactly what I did. I forego I just kind of like forgot about the going in there for the Reese's peanut butter cups, and I picked up the Jersey Milk chocolate bar, and I was like, that one's mine, thank you very much. Paid for it and left, and I was like, oh man, it's like sick. I've had like almost 10 Jersey Milk chocolate bars in the last pass through like my hands or my house, say within like the last couple weeks, and it's just like it's the most beautiful thing, like bellissimo, if you want to call it that. It is so pretty. I am beside myself with joy when it comes to like every time somebody's like, I want Jersey Milk chocolate bar. Yes, I do. I like legit was like, where? It's almost like dog and squirrel. Like, you know what I mean? It's crazy. I love those things. It's beautiful. Chocolate. I know I said earlier that I like to dip the Jersey Milk in some coffee or hot chocolate or even a mocha, and it's pretty. But if you do that with any sort of chocolate, like that'll, there you go. There's your sweet tooth, and your taste buds they'll thank me. Okay, if you haven't done that, do that. If your dentist yells at you, so be it. It is worth it. All right, because I know my dentist will yell at me. I don't necessarily care, so I'm just like, give me the chocolate, give me the coffee, I'm good to go. Right. So that's my love of Jersey Milk. Now, let's get into my second favorite. This is like 1 and 1A, or 1 and 1.1 or 1.2, however you want to sort of categorize it. It's just like 1 and 1A. I love me some Reese's peanut butter cups. I really, really do. It's just something about the peanut butter and chocolate and everything else, the sugar. What can I say? I love Reese's peanut butter cups. It's like it's a beautiful marriage. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful chocolate covered, candy soaked marriage. It's one of the most beautiful things I have ever tasted. It's just like this gorgeous sort of courtship of peanut butter, chocolate, and anything else you can throw in there. And I remember just loving those. I remember, like, around Halloween, when I would always get, like, a Reese's cup in my, sort of, in the trick-or-treat bucket, like, that's the first thing I'd eat right away. I love those things. And I remember, like, when I would hand out the candy when I did hand out the candy for a few years, when some kids would come by, I'd always buy, like, extra Reese's cups. Like they have these bags full of, like, say, single serve Reese peanut butter cups, and I'd always get like 2 or 3 extra bags just for me, because dangerously I would go through my inventory on Halloween night, even though, like, we didn't have many kids come by, but, like, going through your inventory, like, you're not gonna have much left for the kids. And I'm like, 1 cup turns into 2 cups turns into 5, 3, 4, 5, whatever. It's just, I'd go through the inventory. I have no regrets, but, I have a dangerous love for Reese peanut butter cups, and that's like 1A, right behind the Jersey Milk. And I've always loved Reese peanut butter cups. Okay, so don't hate me. If I go through my inventory on Halloween night, not that we have it this year in 2020, or not that we did have it this year in 2020, because by the time you guys hear this, it'll be probably the first week of November. But I love the Reese peanut butter cups. I love chocolate. I love anything sweet. Okay, but Reese peanut butter cups, that's awesome. I remember once my mother made, like, this insanely good no-bake chocolate peanut butter tart pie thing, and I'm like, you have to keep that away from me. But it was so good. It was just, obviously, it was chocolate peanut butter, probably some chocolate chips and some other ingredients. I think she made it with, like, condensed milk, and it was like, it was so sweet, but it was so good. And it, like, that just sort of, reaffirmed my love for chocolate and peanut butter put together, right? Reaffirmed my love for the Reese peanut butter cups. And I was just like, man, I don't ever want these things to go out of production or, like, be discontinued, because they're just too good. I mean, if they stop getting produced, I'm gonna cry. The same thing with the Jersey Milk stuff. If those 2 chocolate bars or candy bar, whatever you want to call them, if they stop getting produced, I'm gonna cry. Okay, like, I'm I'm going to write letters to my local member of my local member of parliament or whatever. I'm going to protest. I will I'm going to get very angry, and then I'm going to cry uncontrollable. I'm going to be inconsolable because it's just, those are my favorites. And I'm just like, man, I'm gonna write letters if they ever get, discontinued. I love those things so much because I'm just a big fan of chocolate. I'm a big fan of anything sweet. I know that my dentist, if they listen to this, probably gonna hate me, but you know what? Sorry guys, I love my sweets, okay? I have a massive sweet tooth. I'm not ashamed to flaunt it. I'm not ashamed to tell you about it. I love me some Jersey milk chocolate and the Reese's peanut butter cups. You give me those together in a beautiful marriage that's going to make a beautiful baby, man, my head's going to explode. I'll go through the roof. It's just a pretty, pretty thing. And what can I say? Anything sweet, give it to me, right? When it comes to ice cream, I love anything chocolate. I really do. I love chocolate ice cream. That's my favorite flavor. I'm not a big fan of what do you call it? You could experiment with flavors, sure. There's a local ice cream shop, Lickety Split, that's not that far from where I live. Actually, probably about 1.5 kilometers, maybe. And they have all sorts of different ice cream flavors, but and I've been in there quite a bit. But personally, my personal favorite, what I will go to every time, anything with chocolate in it. You know what I mean? Whether it's I know that Breyers makes this beautiful heavenly hash, which is chocolate with chocolate chips, or anything with anything that says chocolate or chocolate explosion or coffee and chocolate, that stuff, that's coming home with me. You know what I mean? That's pretty much anything I like. When it comes to cake, I'm not very picky with that. Cake is cake. I mean, it's got frosting, icing, whatever you want to call it. Chocolate again, I'm very okay, where is it? Give me the chocolate, bro. That's my go-to. Just give me chocolate. That's just, you know what I mean? If you want to make Leigh happy, just give him chocolate, right? Cake, the McCain stuff is good. If I was to buy it at a bakery or a supermarket or whatever, I'd probably go for Black Forest. I love that stuff. I have nothing against Red Velvet either, but usually it's chocolate, Black Forest, and Red Velvet. Or if anybody wants to say experiment with flavors, if you're watching one of the baking championship shows, whether it's the spring baking championship, Halloween baking championship, or the holiday baking championship, if I can get a custom cake from any of the bakers on any of those shows, I will accept it greatly, and I will enjoy it. Hopefully not all to myself. I am willing to share, right? But I love me cake. I love me ice cream. I love me chocolate. I love, anything with chocolate in it, I'll love. Anything sweet, I'll eat it, right? When it comes to cookies, I'm a little more particular with those because, again, anything with chocolate. I love, almond cookies with actual, pieces of almond in there. And when it comes to, say, your standard fare, your chocolate chip, give me, the soft-baked, chewy chocolate chip cookies, and I'm just those are amazing. I know that I almost wish that I took up baking when I was a bit younger. I almost wish that I had paid attention to things when my grandmother would bake. I remember that, we would go down to Michigan because that's where they lived and where they settled because, my dad is originally from the States, and these are his parents. But we would go down, my family and I, whether it was my dad and I or, my dad, my mom, and I. And, so we'd go down to Michigan where my dad's parents lived, and, we'd spend the holidays down there, whether it be I think we spent one American Thanksgiving down there, and theirs is probably the end of November. I know that we spent a lot of Christmases down there. It was a lot of fun. And I almost wish that I had paid more attention to my grandmother in the kitchen, because she made these awesome sort of what she called cowboy cookies, and they were like oatmeal, chocolate chip. I think they had raisins in there and a few other very sweet, very nice ingredients. And I never really picked it up. I don't know. I mean, if I had gotten my hands on the recipe somehow, or if somebody in the family is listening to this and can get can get me the recipe to Grandma's cowboy cookies, man, I would thank you to no end. I know that her nephew, I think that's who he is, his wife had tried to sort of replicate or duplicate the recipe, and yeah, she, I mean, did a great job. But I mean, there was just something that my grandmother did that made them so good. I remember they came down. I think the last time they came down, was when I graduated from high school a lifetime ago, and she brought a tin of those, and I just I don't. I'm sorry, Grandma, but if I spoiled my dinner that night, it was completely worth it. It was just a lot of fun. I remember we were playing the card game War, I think, and I reached for the tin that had her cowboy cookies in it, and she slapped my hand away. She's like, "No, not until after dinner." I'm like, "Oh, come on, Grandma! Dinner's 6 hours away. Let me have a little." You know what I mean? She's like, "No." It's like, and to be fair, she got up and went to use the facilities, went to the washroom, and I opened the tin and I snuck one. I'm sorry, Grandma, they were too good, right? Your baking is way too good. I remember she would bake bread, and the cowboy cookies were just the icing. They were just the cherry on the sweet sundae, if you will, and they were they were perfect. So if anybody in my family is listening to this and can get me a copy of Grandma's recipe, please send it along, because I would at least try it. I'm not a home economics genius. I'm not. This is probably not going to put me on the Food Network. And even I'm not trying to get on the Food Network with these, because this is an old, it's Grandma's old recipe. But man, those just take me back. I almost wish that I'd paid more attention in the kitchen when my grandmother would make these. It was amazing. I love those things, and the amount that I ate. Still, I resemble the amount that I ate still all these years later. But I just wish that I paid more attention, because I know that baking is a science, and that you have to follow the recipe to a T, and it's very labor intensive, and it's you make it with love and what have you. You do it because you love it, and I just wish that I paid more attention when it came to my grandma baking, or just wanting to bake more. But I mean, you're never too old to try something. So I mean, if somebody in my family could get their hands on the grandma's cowboy cookie recipe, or sort of a version of that recipe, somebody send it along to me, because I would give it a shot now. I would at least like to try it. I would try it. I would give it the old college try. I would give it my best shot, just to see how they would turn out, because I miss those, man. They were so good. And I miss my grandparents greatly. I miss them to this day. I miss everybody, but it's just that. Then that takes me back. Having some of those cowboy cookies, man, that takes me back to holidays, whether they were Thanksgiving or Christmas, or just any special occasion where we would all get together as a family. My dad, my mom, my uncles, my dad's brothers and things like that. We'd all, and their kids, we'd all just get together, and it was just yeah, this is great. This is it's paradise. You know what I mean? You get together as one giant family. Whether they came up here or we went down to the States, it didn't matter. We were family for the period of time that we were together. I think we would be there for a week at most, maybe 2, and then we'd come back up, and then life would sort of kick in, and then we'd all get back to normal. But you take my grandmother's cowboy cookies, and like that's basically what I went down there for. I mean, I love my grandparents and I love my family, but like knowing that grandma made those cowboy cookies every year along with her homemade bread, like it was those were some amazing times. Those were some good years, and I look back on them fondly. But there it is, the story of my sweet tooth and what I associate it with. My grandmother's cowboy cookies, Jersey milk chocolate bars, and Reese peanut butter cups. Those are the favorites, along with some honorable mentions when it comes to cake and my favorite flavors of ice cream. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. Please do comment, like, share, and subscribe. Find us on your favorite podcast app and player of choice, as well as my official website, LEIGHTDICKEY.com. We're on YouTube as well under Leigh Dickey TV. Please rate us 5 stars and leave us reviews too, if you would, please and thank you. To get in touch with me and the show, email me at LeighTDickey@gmail.com, along with following on social media at LeighTDickey. That's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. All the information is down in the description below. Thanks again for listening. I have been Leigh Dickey. This wraps up another episode of the Beats and Speaks podcast. We will see you all next Friday for a brand new episode. Have a good one. We'll talk to you then. Peace.
LeighTDickey.com